Hey y'all, welcome to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Eboni Harris and I'm a relationship therapist based in Houston, Texas. Today is another live, a little later than I planned because I had meetings this morning and they lasted longer than I intended. Well, not even longer than I intended, but it was in person, and so I couldn't get away to go live. So I was like, well, I'll just go this evening. So thank you for joining. I am doing another question from my comments, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I never leave the chat up. I make sure that it is not there for the replay, just in case people do share certain things. I don't want names on there, especially if I'm reading comments and things like that. So even though this is not therapy, I have to make sure I express that this isn't therapy. This isn't anything like therapy. I still want to protect people's confidentiality, and not if they say certain things, I don't necessarily want to leave it up there in case they don't want people to see it later. So, but as always, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. But I'm going to go ahead with the question I already have prepared, and then we'll go from there. So I recently did a full video on how to know if you're a bad communicator. And then I took a clip from that and posted it. And on one of those clips, it was talking about being an under communicator. And so in the comments, someone asked the question where they said, you're describing my partner. What if he refuses to share or be vulnerable with me, despite me being willing to be there for him? Do I wait for him to be ready? And, this is a very common question. This is actually one of those things that people often come to therapy about, actually, which is either my partner doesn't talk enough, or, I wish they would open up more. And it's lots of different reasons why people don't open up. But, and I think it is important that if you're in a relationship and if that's important to you, that you probably seek someone out who finds that just as important as willing to open up and talk. But oftentimes, specifically, just in general, oftentimes it can be difficult for someone to open up. Sorry, give me a second. All right, there we go. It can be difficult for someone to open up depending on their experiences, depending on what they've learned growing up, and depending on if they find value in communicating. So the first thing I would say is make sure that you're not trying to take that on as your job, as far as trying to force them to communicate. Well, I try to make sure they're open up. I'm there for them. I try to, make sure they're good, or I try to force them to talk, or I ask them a lot of questions and things like that. Because sometimes in our attempts to try to force someone to talk, it actually backfires. And so just allowing them the space to making sure that they understand, one, that it is a safe space for them to talk, that you are creating opportunities for them to talk, and asking them what is important to them. That's where you want to start, right? If you feel like, hey, I wish you would open up more, I want you to open up more, checking in and see if that's something that they even find value in. In my video, I was talking about people that are very much a facts driven, logic driven. I don't need to talk about emotions. That doesn't mean anything. Let me just give you the basic information, and all that matters. And that can be frustrating sometimes to be on the receiving end. But you also have to understand, if that's the way they are, and they think that that's important, you might have to check in and see, do they even see value in sharing more? If they don't, then you may not be able to convince them to open up more. And again, that's not your job. Some people just communicate in that way, and they have to decide that they want to shift, or they have to decide they want to change the way they communicate in order to improve their communication, in order to open up more, right? Along with that, you want to focus on, are you inadvertently doing things that may be shutting them down, right? And sometimes when we are people that want more communication, we tend to, or if we just happen to be over communicators, which is a part of that video as well, we may be hogging conversations. We may be, if they're taking too long to process their thoughts and speak because they don't talk as often about their emotions, that means they may not have the language to speak about it as openly, right? And if they don't have the language, then that might make it difficult for them to open up and share, right? That might take them longer to answer questions. It might take them longer to respond. And if we are people that talk a lot, or that speak more frequently, I guess what I'm thinking of is we have more practice in expressing ourselves, right? And so that means that when someone takes a little bit longer, we may be frustrated. We may try to answer for them. We may even, as they're talking, say, oh, no, what you mean to say is this, right? And what does that do? That shuts down the person and makes them not want to respond. And so you want to make sure that you are able to, that when you are communicating with them, that you're not doing anything to make them stop talking. Sometimes when we ask a lot of questions, that makes someone shut down because they feel like they're being interrogated, right? They feel like you are, not really wanting to hear what they have to say. You're just asking questions just to be nosy, or you're just asking questions because you trying to force them to say certain things, right? And whether that's true or not, that's how they can receive it sometimes. And so that's why it is important to ask them, like, hey, what do you feel is important as far as like you opening up? Do you feel like, what do you think I need to do differently? Is there anything I need to do differently for you to want to open up more? And again, going back to that initial question of, do you see value in this? With that, as you get more information, as you're asking them what they need, if they say, no, I don't think I need to open up more, I'm actually perfectly fine with the way that I communicate, I think that I'm clear and concise, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, then they may struggle to do anything differently. And so then at that point, your job is to figure out if you can accept where they are right now. I think this is extremely important in any relationship, is where are they right now, and are you okay with it, and can you accept it if they never change? I think so often we are dating for potential. So often we are wanting to see if that person can be something different or be better, and we are trying to force them to be in a space that they may not even want to be in. And so a big part of a relationship is acceptance, right? You want people to accept you for who you are. You want people to love you for who you are without feeling like you have to change for them. And so then you shouldn't have that same expectation for other people. If they are if the way they are bothers you, frustrates you, or makes you feel like you're not sure if you can actually continue to be in a relationship with them because of the way they communicate, then maybe you need to decide that that isn't who you need to be with, because accepting where they are now and who they are now should give you some clarity around making a decision on what you want as far as the relationship. So I feel like those are the three things that I will focus on. Is it's not your job to communicate. Make sure that you aren't, well, actually four things. It's not your job to communicate. Make sure you aren't inadvertently stopping them from communicating. Um, Checking to see if they even see the value in communication, and then how do you accept where they are right now? And if you are okay with that, then you can't try to change them. But if you're not okay with it, then you have to make a different decision as far as the relationship. Okay. Sometimes we look for problems that aren't as big of issues, right? And I'm not saying that I'm not here to say it is an issue or not an issue. I'm just saying that sometimes things aren't the way we perceive them, right? Because if they are not as talkative as you, why is that a problem, right? Does it feel like, oh, they're going to get bored? Or, I feel like if they don't open up to me, I won't really know what they're thinking. Are there insecurities that you're trying to calm by forcing them to talk? Like really tapping into that, right? What is it about them not talking that's causing issues for you? So that's what I would say as far as that question. Like, just make sure that you are not trying to force someone to be someone that they aren't right now. Even if you see value in it, right? If you think it's important and they don't, then you have to respect the fact that they might not, right? So if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Also, when it comes to communication, I did do a full communication course that I just wanted to like talk about everything that I share with couples and individuals within my first few sessions around what stops us from communication, what are some communication hacks you can try when you're having disagreements, what do you do when you want to problem solve, what is good communication patterns, how does our childhood impact our communication. All of that is in the communication course. And so it's called Communication Reset. And you can check it out at my website. I'll also put the link in the description as well. That is a good place to start if you want to improve your communication, because oftentimes when we are so focused on someone else, where we need to start is with ourselves. So you can take the class by yourself, or you can take it with your partner. And so check that out on my website. If you go to eboniharris.com and go to other healing options, it's there. I'll also leave a link in the description box and maybe in one of the comments so that you can check it out as well. So that's all I have for today. I just want to make sure I jump on Today has been a very long day, but I'm trying, like I've said before, I want to be consistent with this. Hopefully I have a video coming out this Wednesday. I'm also getting back into my blogging. So lots of content coming up. So if you haven't, please subscribe. I really do appreciate the support. I love jumping on here and chatting. So if you have any questions or if you want to join us for a live in the future, make sure you do. Typically Mondays around 2 p.m. But if it ever changes, I make sure to put it in my community tab so that you can see what time I'll jump on here. And again, if you have any questions, comments, please leave it in the description below, and like this video if you enjoyed the question and the answer to the question. Okay, I will see y'all next time. This was a short one. I will have a longer one next time. It's just late in the day and it's been a long day, so I will check in when I see you next time. Okay, that's all. Bye.